Okay, so today we're going to talk about something wild. We're going to connect the absolute most cutting-edge tech out there with, well, one of the oldest human practices you can think of. We're diving into the surprising and honestly kind of mind-blowing link between artificial intelligence and the ancient art of divination, or fortune-telling. So let's just jump right in with the big question. What on earth could a super sophisticated algorithm possibly have in common with a fortune teller? I know. It sounds like a crazy comparison. But trust me, to really get the connection, we first need to look at a problem we all face today. The challenge of creating something totally new, right out of thin air.
Think about it. Before all this generative AI stuff came along, tackling any big creative project was just a mountain of work. It was this manual, super time-consuming process that took a ton of effort right at the beginning, and you needed a very specific set of skills to even get started. I mean, just imagine the steps involved. First, you've got to do all the research, right? Gathering just piles and piles of information. Then you've got to somehow wrestle all of that into a script that actually makes sense. After that, you need to find people who can deliver it. And all of this takes hours and hours of prep. It's a huge investment of your time and your energy.
But that whole way of doing things, well, it's being completely flipped on its head. We now have these incredibly powerful AI tools that are basically designed to do all that creative heavy lifting for us, streamlining that entire workflow from that first little spark of an idea all the way to the finished product. And these new AI assistants, they're ridiculously good at the things that used to take us days or even weeks. They can swallow up and analyze documents in seconds, they can boil down really complex ideas into simple summaries, and they can even spit out a first draft of a script. I mean, for anyone who works with information, this isn't just a small step up. It's an absolute game changer. So you have to wonder, just how good is it really? Well, to find out, someone put an AI through the ultimate test. They gave it a task: create a full script right there on the spot based on a totally random topic that was generated by a live audience. No pre-planning, no safety net, just pure, spontaneous creation.
So here's how it went down. First, the audience was asked to pick a place. They chose something simple enough: an ocean voyage. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? All right, next, to give it a little flavor, they added a positive word: interesting. So now we've got an interesting ocean voyage. Still sounds pretty manageable. And then, to really throw a wrench in the works, they added a negative twist: disastrous. An interesting and a disastrous ocean voyage. Okay. Now that is where things start to get really tricky. So this was the challenge for the AI. Take these two completely contradictory ideas, interesting and disastrous, and somehow weave them into one single coherent story. How do you possibly make a disaster sound compelling and interesting without being, totally insensitive? That is a real creative test for anyone, let alone a machine. And right out of the gate, this is where the AI did something incredible. It made a creative leap. It instantly connected that abstract idea of a disastrous ocean voyage to something really specific and relatable: a cruise ship vacation. That's a connection a human would make, for sure. But to see an AI do it that fast, it's pretty remarkable. And that single creative jump, that little spark, well, it brings us right back around to our original kind of weird question. Because the process that AI just used, taking all these little bits of information and generating a probable story, is surprisingly similar to a much, much older art form. Think about it. A fortune teller draws on a whole lifetime of watching people, reading tiny signals, and seeing the same patterns over and over again to make a prediction. While an AI does something that looks a lot like that, but instead of lived experience, its lifetime is a gigantic data set of pretty much all human knowledge ever written down. Both of them are just synthesizing patterns to predict a likely story. So when you boil it all down, at their core, both of these systems are just expert summarizers. One summarizes human experience that it's observed in the real world. The other summarizes human experience that's been recorded in data. The basic idea, finding patterns and guessing what comes next, is fundamentally the same thing. Okay, so if AI is this incredibly powerful pattern recognizer, where do we humans fit into all this? Are we even needed anymore? Well, the experiment actually gave us a pretty clear answer to that, too. Because even though the AI might be a new kind of fortune teller, it's definitely not a perfect one. See, here's the thing. That first script the AI wrote, it was clever, yeah, but it kind of missed the point. It focused way too much on the interesting parts of the cruise.
and pretty much glossed over the disastrous element. It took a human to step in and say, whoa, nope, that's not it, emphasize the disaster. And only then did the AI regenerate a script with the right focus. It just goes to show this is a partnership. The AI is amazing at providing the raw material, but the human provides that critical direction, the taste, and the final say.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. If both AI and our own brains are basically just pattern-matching machines that are built on experience, then what is that spark that we call human intuition? It's a question we're all going to be grappling with as these incredible tools become a bigger and bigger part of our world.